Dear viewers, we are live, but we'll start our program in 1 minute. Thank you. We are not sharing the link to join the program in the public because we are discussing the matter from an intellectual level. So I do apologize because I usually share my program links with the public. Unfortunately, we can't do that today because of time constraints. Thank you. We're expecting Dr. Selim Orhan to join us. In the conference. In the conference, there is also the Minister of Economics, Finance from Turkey. So he's trying to join us as soon as possible. We are also expecting Professor Usama Khalid from Saudi Arabia. Dear viewers, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. And also a very welcome to our guests today. We have a lineup of very distinguished guests joining us. We have our guest, Mr. Irfan Majumdar. He is a student from Bangladesh. He has been researching into religious inscriptions, manuscripts, and history of politics in the region of Middle East for the last few years. A fine young man. We also have Mr. Jamal Hassan. He's a security analyst living in USA. Welcome to the show, Mr. Hassan.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have Mr. Rajak Hawladar, a veteran freedom fighter of 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, an author, and a retired lawyer, and he's now living in Canada. Welcome to the show, Mr. Rajak Hawladar. Okay, thank you. We have Mr. Rajesh Banerjee. He's an IT professional. He's living in India. Welcome to the show, Mr. Banerjee.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Amitav Ghosh. He's in the Indian space program, and he's now on a cruise liner. Thank you for joining us, taking the trouble of joining us from a cruise liner.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. We have Mr. Timur Ramadarov. He's working for an engineering company in Canada, and he's originally from Dagestan, Russia. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ramadarov. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Thank you. You're right. Absolutely right.
Thank you. We have Mr. Aman Uddin. He is a free speech and free thinker, free speech activist, for very many obvious reasons, because he has threats on his life. He prefers not to show himself on camera. He has joined us, and he has joined us because he has been fighting for freedom. Welcome to the show, Mr. Aman Uddin.
Thank you for having me for your live, Mr. Mufassil Islam. Thank you so much. And I recently, I was nearly attacked by some Islamic fundamentalist. And since then, I decided not to show my face at all, unless they recognize me. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Mr. Adnan, he's a businessman from Bangladesh. Welcome to the show, Mr. Adnan.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. And last but not the least, we have our main guest, Mr. Yuri Tarzumanov. He's of Ukrainian-Armenian origin. He is now living in UK. He has his close family members in the Ukrainian army. Nice to have you with us, Mr. Tarzumanov.
Nice to be around you. Hello.
Thank you. We are also expecting Professor Usama Khalid from Saudi Arabia and Professor Selim Orhan from Turkey. They apologize that they're running late, but trying their best because both of them are on another seminar. So let's start the program. Welcome. Today's topic, as you can see, the war in Ukraine. Is it war or is it a crisis that Russia says? Is it a war? If it is a war, because we would say it is a war, I would call it a war. Obviously, it's a war. The war in Ukraine, and whether with the escalation of the situations, the nuclear threat is imminent. Is it real, or is Russia just bluffing? As America, Canada, Germany, UK have decided to send the most advanced tanks to help Ukraine, is Ukraine and Russia heading for a nuclear all-out war? Is it real? Is it very real? What will be the consequences if there is a nuclear attack? What will happen? And we are also watching a growing resentment of Germany's decision to send tanks to help Ukraine. We are seeing demonstrations inside Germany. I'm also hearing from many Ukrainians, they're not very happy with the present leader, Mr. Zelensky. Before I move on and ask these very tough questions, probably from our other guests, we start with the security analyst, Mr. Jamal Hassan. How is he viewing all this? Mr. Hassan, please take away.
Oh, thank you, Mufassil. First of all, I would say the West is dealing with totalitarian man, a human being who once belonged to state security apparatus. In Russian, they used to call it Komitat Государственной Безопасности. That means Committee for State Security. He is not the first one. We had seen in former Soviet Union, Andropov also was in echelon of power for some time. But Vladimir Putin has a different style. At the outset, he sounded very docile. He sounded very friendly to the West. I'm quoting some of the quotable quotes of Putin. Putin once said, Russia is a part of European culture. Therefore, it's with difficulty that I imagine NATO as an enemy. He once said, terrorism has once again shown it is prepared deliberately to stop at nothing in creating human victims. An end must be put to this. As never before, it is vital to unite forces of the entire world community against terror. And most importantly, I can cite this quotation from Putin. He said, indeed, Russia and the US were allies during the two tragic conflicts of the Second and the First World Wars, which allows us to think there is something objectively bringing us together in difficult times. And I believe it has to do with geopolitical interests and also has a moral component. Putin has no political background. He was not a politician. Now he's acting, what can I say? A very, very skilled politician is acting. A ruthless dictator with all the means he has to combat the Western civilization. On the other hand, I cannot say that the West can go scot-free in this deadly chess game. We would not forget when Mikhail Gorbachev listened to Reagan when Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down the walls. Hey, yeah, Gorbachev tore down the wall. Russian 15 republics disintegrated without bloodshed. Remember, Mr. Mufassil, you and I come from Bangladesh. The secession of a republic or secession of one wing of a country like Pakistan, it was bloody. It was bloody hell. Millions of people got killed. and you remember the 15 republics, starting from Georgia to Uzbekistan, they separated peacefully during the time of Gorbachev. And of course, Gorbachev was a darling of the West. At the time, we thought former Soviet Union, then later on the Russia would join the West. Yes, Russia welcomed Western capitalism. And Russia is no more a communist country as it was. It was a communist. Russia doesn't have any global ambition as used to be during Cuban Missile Crisis, during invasion in Czechoslovakia in 1968, or invasion in Hungary in 1956, when they sent out tank to spread Soviet style of communism. I want to say, no, Russia is no more communist, but it has become a very totalitarian, pseudo-capitalist society. Nonetheless, the West has every opportunity to listen to Russia, what this totalitarian entity, because we may say we strive for democracy or blah 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 so-called, but who cares? In national interest, we don't mind shaking hands with the Saudis or many other dictators in the world, whose human rights records are very bad. Unfortunately, we had chances, and as you said, that we expanded NATO, and Russia has grievances. We could have listened. At the moment, Mufassil, in America, we all many Americans. I think I would say not in America, even in Western Europe, there's a feeling that the Republicans are the warmongers. Republicans are the hawkish, and Democrats are the doves. What we're saying, we see from 2014, mostly Democrat ruled USA, until now, January 25, 2023, US has commitment or spent $29.9 billion in Ukraine war. We need the money. This war is not good for humanity. This war is depleting the exchequers of many, many small countries, look like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Even my relatives in Germany say that they have a scarcity of cooking oil. My relative in France said that cooking oil price has skyrocketed. This war has negative effect. Okay, now we had a chance. Obama administration has a chance to play hardball in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. Basically, Russia annexed Crimea without much obstacles. And if we, in hindsight 2020, I say we could have been more robust. We could have followed a more robust policy. Unfortunately, our flip-flop, our kowtowing, our, I would say, spineless foreign policy during that time led the Russia believe that, oh, we can get away with murder as they're doing now. I can only say, yes, our topic is today, war in Ukraine and imminence of nuclear war. Yes, I believe, of course, there is a good chance. Because in not too long ago, I can say, Russia discarded, it was in 1993, Russia discarded the no first use of nuclear war, usage of nuclear weapons. Because you probably remember some of the history buffs would remember back in communist time, during Gromyko, they once pledged that they would never use nuclear war first time. But now in 1993, they reversed. And today, I would say, the danger is imminent. We may live in a fool's paradise if we think Putin will not do this. Putin can do anything. we let him go extra mile in grabbing parts of Ukraine. Now,
can we say that he's pushing? I mean, the West is pushing, especially the US is pushing.
I'm sorry. 2014. Go back then. Who pushed him to grab part of strategic parts of Ukraine? I'm talking about Crimea,
right.
And then other parts. Oh, now one important thing, Mufassil, you have to think. Remember Bangladesh war. Majority of Bengali-speaking people supported the independence movement. Okay, there are few pockets of Urdu speakers. Maybe they 100% those Urdu speakers supported Pakistan. Okay, but they were 0.001% of the total population. You have to remember, few years ago in Ukraine, a pro-West gentleman was in power. But what happened? There was a coup or whatever, uprising, people uprising. So you have to remember, in Ukraine, a part of, I don't say 40%, 30%, a great substantial population are pro-Soviet or pro-Russia. You have to remember that. Right. So, and also Russian-speaking Ukrainians. Ukraine is no East Pakistan. You have to remember that Ukraine is more complex than 1971's East Pakistan. It has got Russian-speaking people who are anti-Russia, Russian-speaking people who are pro-Russia, Ukrainian-speaking people who are pro-Russia, Ukrainian-speaking people who are pro-West. So we have to play the chess, taking into account. But what we are doing, M1 Abrams, hurrah, Leopard, tanks, hurrah. But you know what will happen? I mean, I'm very sorry to say, it is only yeah, you are right. At the moment, we are pushing a cat. We are pushing a cat to the corner, unfortunately. A cat, because, yeah, Russia economically is draining. I know that it's bleeding. Russian economy is bleeding. I agree with that. But it can become very vicious. That's my point.
Okay. Thank you for your input. We'll come back to you shortly.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
I need to ask another very important question to our guest, Amitav Ghosh, because Amitav, you were there on a few occasions, as I know, when during India's many missile launching programs, and you are involved in the space program, Indian space program. Now the question comes, as an engineer who has first-hand experience, and as an engineer within the space and aeronautics and all that, how strong is Russia's position when it comes to launching missiles, as we saw the supersonic missiles? And when American president says, practically we have no defense against this missile. So if these tanks, they reach Ukraine, a handful of tanks, in fact, Ukraine is expecting many, many hundreds more, will that change the game in any way so that Russia will feel threatened when they have these ultra supersonic missiles to attack Ukraine? How do you see it? Amitav Ghosh.
See, as far as space is concerned, Russia, generally there are two sort of satellite. One is we call LEO and one we call GEO. Okay, LEO is the low orbit satellite. In the case of low orbit satellite, which actually control the remote sensing and your all that GPS mapping and location tracking. So Russia is 100% upper hand than any of the other European countries. So if anybody has a control on LEO satellite, so definitely there will be an upper hand in to control this, whatever this weapons are they are using in that European Union or America, they'll control. So Russia is an upper hand, especially in this region, as far as this satellite is concerned.
So will that make any changes even if these tanks reach Ukrainian soil, having all these missiles, and Russia is launching relentless missile attacks on Ukraine? will Russia feel
Russia can
having all this war?
Russia can go to any far extent if actually a European Union or America helping them. Because as I know, the very finest the missile technology, Germany has not yet signed. This file is pending since a month together. So if really this German and European Union, America, they help this way, then definitely Russia
Is it
will
because
react
Russia cannot, as
exactly.
Mr. Hassan was saying, that Russia is bleeding? Is it because Russia wants a quick end to the war? Is that what it is?
Exactly. This could be the reason, first reason. There are more other reason, but this is the first reason. They want to end right
is it
now.
shock and awe, like America carried out attack in Iraq and Afghanistan? The shock and awe factor. Is it? Will they go?
You never know type of weapons today's technology they have. Even we cannot imagine. It is not even in magazine. So and one more thing, don't think that
Sorry, he's on a cruise liner, so
very control. Those will be very controlled way they will be using it for specific destination.
right. So you're trying to tell me that Russia is still far too advanced from any European country.
Yes.
And it
Yes,
is
101%. Yes.
to push Russia. Okay, that's a very interesting development. Now we go to Mr. Yuri Tarzimanov. You heard our guests about war prospects.
Sorry,
And
say it again. I'm terribly sorry.
you heard our guests speaking about Russian might and all that.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about the situation now, as you are dealing with many refugees as well from Ukraine? What is happening? I mean, the situation is getting worse. So is Europe ready to accept more refugees? Will we see a refugee crisis building up, or do we expect a quick solution as well so that the refugees can go back home? And if there's a nuclear war, and do you think there is an imminent danger?
I don't think that we are going to see anything related to a refugee crisis.
Right.
Because since, well, let's put it March, April, several million Ukrainian citizens had left the countries and found refuge not only in Europe, but in the US, in Canada, in Turkey, in South America. So I don't think that we are facing any crisis at the moment. And on top of that, and it is also from my personal experience, we've had dozens of thousands of refugees who went back to Ukraine as soon as the parts had been liberated. And I don't know where you are having this information about crisis. Certainly, every country has some challenges getting refugees. It's not like 1 million that happened in 2015 in Germany. We're talking about 4 or 5 million people or 7 million people left the country, and it had to be done very quickly. But the amount of people arriving nowadays in Europe is less, literally nil. There are a lot of people who moved to the western part of Ukraine, who are settled there, away from the front line. There are a lot of people who moved to the south of Ukraine and the center part of Ukraine, and they're settled there. They try to work, they try to have their normal life, presumably normal. It's impossible when the country is at war and being bombarded literally every week.
Right. We have a map here, if I can share the map with you. This is Ukrainian, your country's map as far language, demography. Here's the map. As you can see, the red dots are Russian speakers.
Sorry?
This is a Russian speaking demographical map. in Ukraine. The red dots are Russian speakers,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
So
if
is
I'm not
Russia
mistaken,
playing the card of language and culture to justify?
first of all, I noticed that at census 2001, and we are in 2023. So 22 years passed after that. When it comes to language, and let me tell you from my personal experience, there has never been any problem speaking Russian in Ukraine.
Absolutely.
Russian was spoken as well as Ukrainian without any problem. This is a myth that has been created by Russia. But when it comes to, if you look at this map nowadays in 2023, I will tell you it has changed completely. And since the invasion on the 24th of February 2022, those red dots are less and less in the country. And that was done voluntarily. It's not like someone said, oh, switch from one language to another. No, this is people's choice.
Right. And what about the nuclear threat? Do you see any nuclear threat?
Well, I cannot see any nuclear threat, to be honest, because do we have any information about the state of Russian nuclear weapon?
This is, as far as we know, this is probably have the highest pile of nuclear arsenal in the world.
But do we know about the condition?
Oh, that's another question.
Several months ago, they sent a submarine. They sent them the most recent submarine Belgrade for some tests, and for 2 weeks that submarine was somewhere without shooting a single test fire.
Right, Mr. Jamal Hassan, as coming to the position of nuclear arsenal of Russia, do you believe that these nuclear weapons being outdated in any way will have any effect on nuclear threat?
Oh, no. This is totally different thing. Oh my God. Nuclear arsenal, vis-a-vis confronting the superpower or the West, like European Union or US and adversary. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. And using a small scale tactical, and many Western analysts already said that it's feasible. They can use. They don't have to use sophisticated ICBMs. I mean, like localized war. But it doesn't matter. I mean, forget about nuclear. It could be a cluster bomb. It could be something like what USA used. Remember in Afghanistan, USA used
yes.
highest amount of something can dig such a big depth in the ground when attacking the Al-Qaeda hideouts in Afghanistan. So, okay. But nuclear fallout will have different things, that it can have radioactivity and all this. I mean, it's feasible, it's possible, but even it's obsolete, whatever you call it, because they are not using ICBM targeting Washington DC. They are. I mean, the plausibility comes using a small scale tactical nuclear weapon in the neighboring Ukraine, which is not too far from Moscow. So, but that may happen. It's not a big deal. I'm telling you, if they use more earth-shaking some other weapon, which is not nuclear but something else. So yeah, we always get very agitated when we hear the word nuclear. Of course, it has a fallout. Remember even the Chernobyl. Remember the Chernobyl? What happened? Chernobyl. So that, yeah, it can have a big fallout. Of course, repercussion. Yeah, if they use the nuclear, now, but they don't have to. They don't have to use nuclear. I'm saying they don't have to.
Right. Coming to Mr. Tarzumanov's opinion about language, I have information reads, in April 2019, the Ukrainian parliament voted a new law, the law on supporting the functioning of the Ukrainian language as the state language. The law made the use of Ukrainian compulsory, totally or within quotas, in more than 30 spheres of public life. They made it compulsory, including public administration, electoral processes, education, science, culture, media, economic, social life, health, and care institutions, and activities of political parties. And it also goes on to say, the law did not regulate private communication. Some exemptions were provided for the official languages of the European Union and for minority languages within the exclusion of Russian, Belarusian, and Yiddish. The Venice Commission and Human Rights Watch expressed concern about the 2019 law's failure to protect the language rights of Ukrainian minorities.
That's completely nonsense.
Nonsense. So
Let me tell you something.
it is from you-
2019, I like Amnesty International. That's a very brilliant organization. But my question is one, what is wrong in using the language of the country
Mhm.
when you're going and ordering a cup of tea or a cup of coffee? Are you going to a local council to decide a question about leakage? What is wrong with talking Ukrainian? You are in Ukraine. You can use whatever language you want at home.
Why not-
Hungarian,
do we have,
Russian, Hebrew, French,
why do
whatever
you have
language. But when you're going to the state institution,
Mhm.
this is Ukraine, we speak Ukrainian. What is wrong with that?
I will tell you what is wrong, because Mr. Timur Ravanel, he's also in Quebec, and Bill 96, we are very much aware of it. Now, when you are in Quebec, is a French-dominated, speaking-dominated region, and if the the Quebecans are told that the majority language is English and they have to speak English in the public places, will create a very strong stir among the public sentiment. Now, coming to Mr. Timur. Mr. Timur, welcome to the show. I understand that many Chechen fighters now in Mr. Tazumanov's land, coming from Dagestan, where the Chechens tried to sort of take over power because you declared independence in 1917, then onwards you joined the Russian Federation, so Soviet Union and all that. And you drove away these Islamist forces. The question comes that coming from Dagestan, how do you view Chechens fighting for Russians against Ukrainians?
It is mostly, I'm sorry for my language, but
Okay.
it is really stupid things.
Right.
It's really stupid things. What kind of interest of Chechen or Dagestan people in Ukraine? What kind of interest?
Because the
what?
Chechen is part of Russia. That's the interest.
Excuse me, Russia, it is Russia. Ukrainian is Ukrainian.
Yeah, but
It is-
Russia, when they declare they said it crisis, but it's war anyway. So they declared war. They are asking for conscription. They're asking for people to join the war, and they're sending their youngs to the war. And it is part of Chechen duty probably to work for Russia, isn't it?
This is not this. That's mostly. I'm talking about my provinces, Dagestan.
Right.
The people goes there mostly of economic situation in there. That's it. Nothing else. Just about there is just about money to somehow to survive.
So
That's
it's a
it. That's
question of
all.
money. It's a question of money. So if it is a question
Absolutely.
if it is a question of money, what about question of human rights as well? So let's talk about money then. Let's share a screen. Here we are. Here is a energy distribution policy. What is happening in energy, and it seems when it comes to energy, amazingly, America is the main country who are profiting out of all this. So US is making money from this war as Europe is struggling for energy. How do you see this? So is America, willing to go all the way with the war so that Russia cannot sustain the war, as ex-president Donald Trump is saying that it's very much imminent, the threat of nuclear strike. So America will want the war to linger on so that they can profit from it.
Uh, it- really,
NATO has fallen trap to American policy of lingering the war and draining life out of Europe, so that Europe is obliged to rely on American energy. Is that what it is? It looks that way to me. As I can tell you, it looks that to me. That's what it looks like. I have no other way to explain that. I will show you again. Let's go. Let's share the screen a bit more.
Mhm.
Here, this is trade in billions. Yes, I understand that Russia, European Union with all those countries has 47 billion trade a year before the war, and Russia had hardly 3.5 billion trade with Ukraine. But it still comes to the question of who is profiting from all this? Who wants to profit from all this? LNG gas, turning to LNG gas instead of Russian pipeline. But it seems this war has, as you said, economic interest. That's all. There's no humanity, because even Zelensky's human rights records is not very good, is it? He had a special security forces who carried out tortures, abductions. Nobody's talking about it.
What kind of economic has Russia right now or before? What
Well,
kind
Russia,
of economic?
as we can see, Russia was one of the 10 best countries to invite.
It could be best country. It could be best country if will be changed government or whatever it is. But for up to now, the Russian has no economic at all.
Well, that's not what the facts are saying, because if you remember, when the war started, Russian rubles were being laughed at when it dropped exchange currency rates. They were making fun of Russian currency when the war started. But it seems Russian ruble is now stronger than before the war even started.
Where is it?
I mean,
where is the power of the ruble? Where is the power of the ruble?
I mean, they're taking a whole country. Forget about making some benefits. Russia has taken over the whole country practically.
Mufassil, I'm terribly sorry. I think you've been properly misled when it comes to US dollar in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
The official exchange rate is 70 rubles a dollar. And do you know why? Because there are no dollars in Russia left.
That's it.
No, you can only sell. You can't buy dollars in Russia.
Okay, so let's see what is happening really.
That's why this exchange rate is being held 70 rubles per dollar is wool on your eyes and on the eyes of Russian people. Literally, there are no foreign trade in Russia, no gas, no oil, nothing. They don't need dollars. They're enjoying Chinese yuan nowadays. That's why someone told you that Russian currency is stronger.
So is it, if Russian currency is not stronger, are you trying to tell me that Russia cannot do trades via other countries that they have alliance with when it comes to, for example, collective security treaty organization, where there are countries like post-Soviet Union states, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, because if Russia is building a nuclear power station in Bangladesh even, and they wanted to dock one of their supply cargoes. India helped Bangladesh by allowing the Russian cargo disembark in India, and then via India, Bangladesh got their supplies. So is it really hurting Russian economy, or rather we have a few documentaries, investigative journalism, where they're saying the prices are dropping, the energy prices are hardly have changed in Russia, where, as we can see, there's no way to deny it, the food prices in the West have rocketed high, daily expenses have rocketed high from this, after this war, and this has affected daily living. Our government is saying, sorry, we cannot fund you anymore, that's it. And especially at a time when we are just coming out of COVID.
There is one thing we should also consider, that prices skyrocketed, yes, everywhere, as well as in Russia.
All right,
let's just, they don't. The problem is that Russia is heavily censored country.
Well,
if Timur, for example, had been in Russia at the moment,
he was from Britain.
There should be several words down under his name that he is a foreign agent, and whatever he's saying, he's foreign agent.
Regular prices were being investigated by under secret, steps to find out the regular lives of Russians. Now, let's go to Mr. Amanuddin. Mr. Amanuddin, you are living in England. What is the overall living standard of ordinary English people in England since the war? What are the daily expenses? Can you?
Okay, let me, Mufassil Islam, thank you for asking me. I took some notes about the Ukraine, the effect of negative effect of Ukraine war.
Right.
So Russia's war against Ukraine is causing a humanitarian, social, and economic crisis for the Ukraine. Not only Ukraine. The consequence of this war fully increasing the energy price, food price, and it has very, very negative effect on my daily life. I'm not thinking about the other people. Recently, our British government planned to help out us with energy bill. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we get nearly £400 a year for our increased energy bill. It's just because of the war, the energy bill has gone up. So as far as I know, Russia, our Great Britain used to get the gas electric supply. I'm not sure about it from the Russia. Since the war began, Russia stopped supplying the, I'm not sure about gas or electricity, whatever, energy things like, yeah. I'm not sure. As far as I know, you'll talk later. Yeah.
But the fact is, what the bottom line is, the daily living expenses have gone up.
It's very sky high.
And can Western Europe sustain this level of uncontrolled spiral rocketing of daily expenses? Can they continue with this? Can we continue with this?
Now, we cannot continue this. You know, that I tell you one thing.
We cannot have a long-lasting war. We cannot afford to have a long.
No, we cannot afford it in our country.
We don't see any diplomatic steps that much.
No, we don't see any diplomatic step. What I'm saying is, in our country, lots of elders
is dead, basically. So there's no diplomacy. United Nations is sitting duck especially when they're polarized. Russia and China is together, and the rest of veto power countries are together. And we see this polarization has in fact made turned United Nations literally inactive. So there's no diplomacy going on.
No diplomacy.
To stop. Everybody wants an escalation. America wants escalation. In the name of defending Ukraine. Wants escalation. I mean, what's going on?
Mufassil, I'm terribly sorry. Why are you not saying about Russian escalation first of all? Why are you bringing US? Why are you bringing Europe? We are talking about Russian
let me say
in
something.
Ukraine.
I haven't finished yet. Sorry about that. What I'm saying is, I'm not worried about Russia. I'm worried about I'm telling you what I'm worried about. My country, elderly people in this country. In my country, I mean Great Britain, elderly people stopped putting central heating on. You know why? In case the energy bill goes up and they cannot afford to pay the bill. However, our government is helping out with the energy bill.
But does that mean that we just let Russia take over part of Ukraine and control Black Sea? Is that what it is?
It looks like that. Yeah.
So eventually, if Russia takes over Black Sea, that will have a serious effect on European economy as well. Like if takes over Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan. No, Mufassil, Mr. Mufassil Islam. I have been listening to the guest speech, about it, or conversation. I found out 2 points. This is whether you agree with me or not. I'm not sure about it. I heard that some guests said the nuclear war is imminent.
Right.
It may happen. It may take place. But my point is, we could stop it. I mean, by using our diplomatic methods. Now, I know for sure that the Western countries been trying to.
I can think of probably trying just even a bit to defuse it.
For example, our Prime Minister Rishi Sunak,
he's not trying to stop it in any way.
No, he met Ukraine president. What's his name? Zelensky or whatever. I can't remember. I can't pronounce his name. Now, there is no solution. There is no solution at all. Now we are saying the nuclear war is imminent. It may take place. Blah blah blah. But how are you going to stop Russia? How are you going to stop Russia? Is there any way? Or is there any solution to this problem?
Okay, let me ask Mr. Yuri Tarzimanov, then I will ask Mr. Jamal Hassan about it. Mr. Yuri Tarzimanov, really, is there any way to engage diplomacy to stop this war? Diplomacy. We don't see any diplomacy going on.
Yes, because Russia doesn't want to be engaged in negotiations. Because Russia says that we can't start negotiations on our terms. And the question of the territories that they've been occupied, they are not discussing, which is implausible.
Right.
Is there any other country, Mr. Jamal Hassan, is there any country who can really have some effect in diplomatic solution, like China to the scenario?
I can say India, but we have to go back to American politics. We don't know exactly what prompted former President Trump to be so soft on the Russian regime. We don't know all the details, but we knew President Trump was more one of the most inward looking president of the history of the United States. Yes. He wanted to, for example, he did a splendid job also, for example, containing ISIS empire in the Syrian Iraqi theater in collusion with the Russian leadership. You probably know that. Yes. And he wanted to sort of weaken NATO. He was not a great fan of NATO.
Yeah, because he was saying NATO is draining.
Listen, what's happening now? I'm telling you. I told you before, Trump may not go to jail. Even there's a slim chance he might even become one of the candidates of the Republican Party. Even if he doesn't become the candidate, if he has some other limitations, Governor DeSantis of Florida, he has every chance. But the reality is the the main forces, the main constituency of Republican Party or Republican leadership, they are not a big fan of Ukraine war. They will probably definitely have a dialogue. Mr. Bush saw the heart of cold-blooded killer Putin. You know, he saw the heart, but later on we said, oh, it was mistaken. It was not a heart. It was made of stone. It was not a real heart. But Putin, definitely, I agree with you. The present US government is not very much, I mean, of course, not very much into business of diplomacy. And there was a chance we could play the hardball, as I again saying 2014 when this country annexed. And I agree with Mr. Tarzumanov. Yes, Putin is escalating for nothing. I mean, why he has to drop bombs in the neighborhood, residential neighborhood? Why he has to drop bombs on electrical grids? I mean, why? He could simply attack the tanks and just to maybe the cantonments, the military areas, but Putin is definitely escalating the war.
Who's going to cry about it? Who's going to cry about it? America? Who's going to cry about it? America? Yes, I understand that countries like India are bound.
But we have to see again. We go to the reality, okay? We can be critical of US foreign policy, or we saw Vietnam War 20 years it was going on, and later on, oh, it was a mistake. But right now I can say Germany, for example.
Parties.
Yeah, Germany, for example, was very much dependent on Russian energy. You will see there ought to be a rift. Amanuddin already said, common European people someday will rise up and say, we are sick and tired of this war. You see, there may be government change, because this war cannot continue. But in US theater, I tell you, in November 5, 2024, there's a good chance the Republicans will take over White House. And you will see suddenly what happens. Oh my God, Putin comes to White House. Oh, this will happen because the point is, the Republican Party is not get supporter of this ongoing war. I tell you.
Okay. Go on to sorry, Mr. Hassan, I'll catch you there. I'll come back to you. Mr. Amitabh Ghosh is raising hands, and before I come to you, Mr. Ghosh, I will take opinion from a valiant freedom fighter, Mr. Razzaq Hawladar, who fought in our liberation war. From a freedom fighter's perspective, Hawladar, obviously, Ukraine is fighting to free their occupied territories. What do you think of this war, Mr. Hawladar?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mufassil Islam. This is really a critical matter, not only in my view, not only in the Russia is not confined within Russia. It is the critical moment, and the crisis is spreading all over the world. Already, its effect is already started. So, whenever we had a war in 1971, and I was directly in the war and fought against the barbarous Pakistan army, because they. We had the neighbor India, but all other, the whole world was against us. We had an opportunity that India was in between, and India supported us. so that Pakistani army, they could not easily fly, easily come through the sea. This was interrupted by Indian force.
So you're trying to tell me that the countries who are now supporting Ukrainian freedom were the very countries who didn't support our freedom in 1971.
I'm sorry?
America, Britain, who are now supporting Ukrainian freedom, they didn't support our freedom in 1971.
Yeah, they did not. They did not.
So that's hypocrisy, international politics.
It's a hypocrisy. Obviously, it is clearly it's a hypocrisy. Yeah.
Now I'll come to that. Mr. Haladar. Now Rajarshi Banerjee is smiling, and also Mr. Amitabh Ghosh. Both of you unmute your microphones, please? Mr. Rajarshi Banerjee and Amitabh Ghosh. Both of you are Indians. Obviously, you have reasons to laugh, because as you can see, there were hospitals. I mean, there's no way to deny wedding parties were bombed by American weapons. I'm sorry, Mr. Hassan. In Iraq, in Syria, I'm sorry, in Afghanistan, nobody cried. I mean, Western media didn't cry much about it. But in 1971, when we were fighting for our freedom, India was with us. But Mr. Nixon, American President Nixon, was making jokes about Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, how she even looked. And they were laughing about our people being killed by Pakistanis. Only Miss Indira Gandhi was with us, and Indian people were with us. How do you view, both of you from India? Yes, go ahead. This love for freedom.
Who goes first?
No, you go first.
Rajarshi, yes.
Yes, Rajesh, you go first.
Yeah, I was listening to all these people. I'll come to this point first, and then I'll address the whole issue.
Right.
See, if you make a list of the countries who supported the cause of the liberation of Bangladesh, you will see very few. The first country to recognize the liberation of Bangladesh was Bhutan, and after that was India, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when millions of people were being killed and so many women being raped, and Indira Gandhi was traveling from one country to another, right, trying to raise the voice amongst the people to protest against such brutality. See, we are a nation. At that point of time, we were a nation which today's India and at that point of times of India is different, right? The economic condition and the economic strength of India in 1971 was at least 50 times lesser than what it is right now. And we could see that people walking in from Joshua Road and piling in India, right? Piling in India. So the point is, how many people we can accommodate day after day? That was one concern. The second concern was, that was the primary concern of India. Humanitarian ground was not the first concern. According to me, that was the primary concern. Secondly, definitely, seeing whatever leaked, footages were coming on, the brutality which was bestowed upon the people, that was shocking. So India had to respond. People sitting in Bangladesh today, I mean, liberated Bangladesh, they say, India has helped us because there was a vested interest to divide Pakistan. It's not true.
No.
We had to first protect our, interests. We were a nation which didn't have that much of economic, capability to accommodate so many people walking into our country. That was the first interest. That was the interest of the country. Secondly, the brutality that was being carried out there, which was like it was like hell. No normal human being. So Nixon at that point of time, he was laughing at the people of Indian subcontinent. Forget about Bangladesh. Forget about India, forget about Pakistan. He was laughing at the people of Indian subcontinent. Those black-skinned people, they are stinking. I still remember that interview, right? So these were the sentences. At the end of the day, we are the sons of the same soil. It's the fate of the history that we got divided, right? Twice and then thrice. That's something different. I am not here to discuss all that, right? But we are the sons and daughters of the same soil. We have the same skin. We have the same smell, right? If somebody is pointing at our skin, our smell, our looks, I have 100% objection against it, right? So there were few people today, you know, being sympathetic to Saudi Arabia, being sympathetic to Indonesia, whichever is a particular, religious domination, you submit to that country, but you forget, as a Bangladeshi, I'm talking about Bangladesh, you forget that what happened to you, how many people supported you, right? Amongst the Arabic world, amongst the Western world, now they are shedding crocodile tears. This is one part of the story. Secondly, coming to your this atomic, expectation of an atomic uh, emergence of the Ukraine war. I believe all of you guys have seen that famous movie JFK, right? Which won several Oscars, right? So Cuba was actually a war weapon dumping ground for America. There was no reason to wage a war against Cuba, right? When an economy is at the threshold, is standing at the end point, right? There are no further avenues where you can earn, right? After the Soviet Union disintegrated, what has been the economy of Russia?
So are you trying to tell me, Mr. Banerjee, with all these, are we saying that we have double standards when it comes to freedom and all that?
Absolutely.
We have double standard.
Absolutely. And I am
my
yeah,
whole
absolutely.
economy. So here human rights will flare, and when it comes to bombing other countries, it's fine.
No, I'm saying that
eyes shut when it comes to liberation wars like Bangladesh. You just keep your eyes shut because you need
absolutely
Pakistan and Bangladesh to remain together, which was carried on by Reagan administration and Carter administration and Islamization of our countries.
Yes, we are a part of the third world, so we should be considered the last.
What you're saying, we're expendable.
We people have the liberty to make fun out of ourselves.
Right.
And who's responsible?
I will listen to you a bit more, but as for time constraints, can I go back to Amitav Ghosh? Then we have two more guests we need to ask. Amitav Ghosh, you were smiling. Why is that?
Yes. See, when you talk about superpower America, so they don't see any human rights violation in Yemen. They don't see in North Korea. So they have a special glasses to find the human rights violation. This is first. Second, one gentleman was telling some 5 minutes back that our India's great Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, he may do the wonder through diplomacy. But here I have to put one observation. See, after this war, it break out, what all the chain reaction India has observed from India's soil. One is we have two great enemy. One is Pakistan, and then the second is China. Today, Pakistan condition is what we everybody know.
But do you think,
right?
As you brought Pakistan in this equation,
yes,
Imran Khan was saying that his removal from power, America had a lot to do with it. And
Imran Khan is a fool, okay? So we should not discuss about it.
That. I understand your opinion, but at the same time, don't we think that there will be an escalation so that America might bribe sort of Pakistan to go to war against Afghanistan Taliban and do their job and take over Afghanistan and then reward them with money?
You know, already America has granted $500 million. It is to safeguard their.
They're supporting
Yes.
via
Yes.
Arab Emirates. Arab Emirates has
So
already
what they will do?
Yes.
They can do two things, Pakistan. Either they will attack Afghanistan, or
Yes,
they
right,
may
right.
go to Iran border, or they may go to Iran border. They'll not come to India. This is the first. Okay. So now, Mr. Modi, he is looking two part. Pakistan is gone. China will never come in the war because of their economic condition. And if Russia is today like
if
1 year back, Russia, so
if
it
that's
is
the
something
case-
else.
But if that's the case, now BBC is airing the Modi question because Mr. Modi was not very helpful when it comes to Ukrainian war. So, of international diplomacy to put him under pressure, so that he's diplomatically now in a corner. China is being worried about Taiwan and all that. But again, I will stop you. I'll go to Mr. Irfan Majumdar. He has been sitting there.
I have another point to be said.
Yes.
Just 30 seconds. That is, after this war, okay, we all know India Space Agency, in a single day, they have launched 36 satellites. From who has given this order? It is UK. OneWeb is the company. They have to launch 300 satellites. If suppose this war was not there, who was supposed to lift those satellites? It was Russia. And European Union do not believe Chinese satellite. So now you tell me someone why Mr. Modi will interrupt this war. What is his interest?
So there you go. So Mr. Modi is happy this war is continuing. So
it's diplomacy. It's called diplomacy.
In the middle, the lives of ordinary Ukrainians are suffering. That's what it is. So
do you think America is bothered? Do you think Mr. America is bothered? Do you mean
escalation probably?
Germany is bothered? Germany, UK, right. No one is bothered actually.
Germany is not bothered. That's a very important thing.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Irfan Majumdar. Mr. Majumdar, how do you see it as a student? Mr. Majumdar.
Greetings, sir, and greetings every distinguished guest. One point is, as far as I was studied, is the issue of International Monetary Fund. They claimed recently that the National Bank of Ukraine is under basement and working pretty much in a better shape in a war economy. And they are pretty confident about this in December reports accordingly. And I intend this. In that case, I intend this remark to Jamal Hussain, security analyst, respected, how he sees this, and another question to Dr. Yuri, because he provided a remark about the ruble recently. I've been studying a report of a Russian briefing when Russia actually claimed that in August 2022 that they have actually made $100 billion trade with Turkey. In ruble, they are trying to settle things in ruble recently in August 2022, and they believe that they will get an agreement by 2030 of $100 billion.
Dr. Tazumanov, we have someone who is coming with data that Turkey is about to trade with Russia in rubles. Wow!
Right, in 2030 they are targeting, and right now the trade is somewhat functional, like to $23.5 billion they're targeting, and there are 5 distinct banks. They're working, and they're claiming that we are already started trading rubles with Turkey in small.
So there you go. What do you say to that? What do you say to that, Dr.
Yeah, that's very good. I'm so happy for them that they can trade in their rubles. That's brilliant.
Which way the war is tilting?
If they want, they can trade in rubles.
Okay.
Considering that the Turkish lira last year went down 85%, I can say good for you Russians. Do trade with Turkey for rubles. I'm happy for them.
Okay, Mr. Hassan, that is quite being sarcastic, Dr. Tazumanov there. What do you say to that?
Now it's happening with Bangladesh also. Probably you know that recently Bangladesh got some energy, and with India, I think there was a discussion that they might trade with Russia with rubles. Yeah, but
Is it international monetary and dollar being the method of exchange being slipped from
yeah,
American?
but I tend to agree with Mr. Tarzumanov in this case that I would not say 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. No, I would not go to that extent. But it's not that significant. I'm saying yeah. For example, lira. He gave good scenario. The lira's price, the value of lira, Turkish lira, went down to 85%. So even now the question is that Russia is a survival mode. Russia is in a survival mode. Definitely it will survive. But going back to your point that I was raising my hand several times.
Right,
when you were saying about USA is no angel. We made mistakes. President Carter has said, yes, we have committed many.
Mistake is something which you don't do deliberately.
Now we have human rights violation. President Carter said. Obama said yes. Obama clearly said that we are not the good guys all the time. If you go back to Somoza's,
when is America the good guys when it comes into diplomacy?
Dictatorship, appeasing dictatorship. Marcos of Philippines. Somoza, then Batista of Cuba, Somoza of Nicaragua. We supported many little dictators. That's true.
Dozens of regime changes.
But listen, national interest.
Of lives being lost. Weapons of mass destruction.
Lest we forget, we did good thing in Kosovo, liberation of Bosnia. You have to remember those. We do, but we didn't do always bad things. We did good things sometimes. Please cite those good examples. Kosovo, and during the
now, is it good things that there's no diplomacy and America is trading out of this European suffering?
No. This is I am against it. I mean, I am for diplomacy. I agree with that. But I never expected Putin to be such outrageous.
He's always outrageous. He's always trying to make his point because he was pushed out of G8 because of of the Georgia issue. So he was always outrageous. He was always saying, once a KGB, always a KGB. He always said that.
Hey, listen, Mufassil, recently what happened with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia?
What happened?
Our national, security, agencies already identified that he could be behind Khashoggi. Donald Trump said Khashoggi's,
American Supreme Court says that Saudi Arabia is not going to be punished for any.
But we had to go there recently. President Biden went and shook hands.
That was a threat because GCC countries, Gulf countries, invited China. That's why.
Yeah, we had to go there and shake hands with the Crown Prince. Okay, now. So we may say he's a killer and brutal, whatever, Putin, but would you be surprised if we shake hand with Putin tomorrow?
What about Bush? He has blood on his hands as well. If we say Putin, yes, okay, he's a brute, he's a killer. Okay, all right. But what about Mr. Bush? He has blood on his hands.
Listen, our former president, what you were saying,
he should be tried.
Our former president Trump echoed that, said the same thing what you were saying, that we had we did a lot of evil things. Anyway, now, I agree with that. But again, taking into account all the wrongdoings of the West, Mufassil, you agree, West is much better than East? I'm talking about the totalitarian communism. You agree with that?
It depends on certain issues. Which issue you're talking about, which is better? When it comes to human rights and domestic matters, yes, it is. When it comes to
so you are, I understand. So you are saying conditionally.
Domestic life, Western policies are super. When it comes to international policies, Western policies are Bullshit. Sorry for my word.
But I'm always critical with that policy in many cases, and I always believe that in many cases it's short-sightedness. You remember that in 1989 I wrote an article on Afghanistan crisis, which I sent to many senators, congressmen, and everybody. I wanted to say that US should not abandon Afghanistan. What Russians left, America also left Afghanistan, and it became a grazing ground of all the jihadis of the world.
Who created the jihadis? That's another issue.
Yes.
What about
Yes.
Hillary Clinton
Yes.
herself? Hillary Clinton herself said.
No, I'm sorry. I have not. Mufassil, I have a Fifth Amendment. I keep my mouth shut.
I know you do. I know you do. That's why
I keep my mouth shut.
Mufassil bhai has something to say.
I'll come to you. Now go to Adnan. Adnan, you are a businessman. Tell me, what is your opinion about all this?
The opinion about this, yeah, NATO wanted their expansion. They got it, and they won't stop. They see what happens this spring. Yeah, the offensive will start this spring. So yeah, you'll see the results. They'll speak for themselves.
Right. So what you're trying to say that they will speak from this. I understand that, but the time is running, the clock is ticking. We know that Saddam Hussein was tried for his humanitarian violations and all that, his mass murdering. But what about British Prime Minister as well? Ex-British Prime Minister, you know who I'm talking about.
Tony Blair
and all that. Tony Blair, he should be tried as well for killing thousands of people. I understand probably it didn't make Iraq better in any way. That's another thing. But when it comes to coming back to the Ukrainian situation now, Ukrainian people have the right to freedom. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
They have the right to choose their own freedom. That's the bottom line. There should have been a referendum, not under Russian auspices, because Russia oversaw that referendum when they already invaded the country. So giving a referendum after taking over the country is really laughable.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Okay, I will go to last words now. Mr. Tazimanov, are you there? I can't see you. So I want your last words, and I'm coming to Mr. Timur. Mr. Timur, your last words, please. I need to listen to your last words.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, tell me about your last words. What do you want to say about all this?
For me, question.
Do you condemn American dropping bombs in Afghanistan and Syria and Iraq as well? I do understand you condemn Russian bombing in Ukraine, but do you also condemn their bombing with the excuse of weapons of mass destruction? Do you do that? You do that? Hard question, yeah? We don't have freedom of speech.
No, this is not really a hard question because there is a different situation at all.
Well,
Afghanistan, Pakistan.
Found. Mr. Timur, weapons of mass destruction were never found.
Don't get a question.
I mean, you see, with the CIA and all that, weapons of mass destruction under UN Charter Article 50 they used were never found by America, were never found by Bush administration. And they bombed a country to a smithereen. They bombed Iraq. They bombed Afghanistan. But most of the 9/11 attackers were Saudis. They were Saudi Arabians. And they were rubbing shoulders with Saudi Arabians when almost all the attackers in 9/11 were Saudis. Saudis were never punished.
I'm telling you, it's really hard to answer. You know, that once again, it is different situation, different country, different mentality of population over there.
Yes, I agree.
This is, I cannot even, you know, I'm not person of those countries. You know, I have.
Well, we are not people of Ukraine as well, but we support Ukrainian freedom, right to have their own resolution, own referendum freely without Russia invading and giving them the referendum. What Russia did, Russia invaded and they said, have a referendum. That's bullshit. Sorry.
You understand the point of that situation? The one country intended to another country.
Well,
that's it. There is no point discuss. This is a criminal. There is no excuse. There is no point.
Oh, no. For 9/11, most of the attackers being Saudis, and you go ahead and bomb Afghanistan. How do you justify that?
Like I said, I don't know this history of that. Well, this is everything between government. There is no way.
Okay, I will let Mr. Tajumanov have the last words, but before that,
thank you very much.
Okay, go on.
Mufassil, I think we can have some comparison when it comes to Iraq, Afghanistan, but it is 5% from what we are talking about and what is related to
we are talking about
Ukraine nowadays. Yeah, we can say about weapon of mass destruction, but we can omit the question of Kurds and northern Iraq, and we cannot mention that. Let's forget it. When it comes to Ukraine, what type of referendum? This is an independent country which on the 24th of August 1991 declared its independence.
Oh, that's okay. I agree with you there. That's
no referendums, nothing. The country had made its choice.
A question. Was it necessary for Ukraine to join NATO? I understand they have the right. They have the right to join NATO because there's a free country, sovereign country. They have the right to join any group they want. But the question still comes, was it necessary for Ukraine to try to join NATO?
Having considered the experience from the 24th of February, and let's not forget, it all started 2014. Yes.
Okay. All right.
The answer is yes. There's no other way, because you can read many good histories about Russia, about Russian economy, about beauty of that country that can't even produce the tea bags to sort in their tea and thread nowadays. And they sell their cars without seat belts because they can't produce it.
Right.
You are laughing, but this is the reality of Russia 2023,
right?
Which is inconceivable. That's why, having considered all that nonsense,
right.
Yes, Ukraine must join NATO.
Right.
From now on.
Mr. Manager, go on.
Hello.
Yes, go on. We're listening.
See, we forgot the whole context of. Yeah, Timur, you want to go? Go.
Me, Mufassil, there is a like a not a problem. We try to compare the problem with the America, with the Syria, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the Gaza.
Yes, we will.
Between
they are the police. They are the police of the United Nations. We will compare.
No. There is a different.
They have the veto. We will compare. They have taken the veto power to protect the war. So if you claim to have the veto power, we will obviously question your double standards. Yes, we will.
Mufassil bhai, I have one thing to say here.
Yes.
We are forgetting the context of the discussion. Will it erupt into a nuclear war or not?
Well, we already answered that. I think Mr. Jamal Hassan said this is imminent.
Fine. There is one point. When you are standing at the threshold of an economy, how do you make money? You have to make more war.
Let the war continue.
Yes, let the war continue. Let us make more weapons and let us sell it to other underdeveloped countries.
And push Ukraine into more debt and obligation.
Yeah. Sell S-400 to India, sell S-500 to India, sell some weapons to China and all that, right?
Yes.
So the all old weapons, it needs to be dumped somewhere, right? So Ukraine was the war. It's similar as Cuba. It is similar as Cuba.
So this is all
Right.
economy. Basically, the war game.
Right. That is why John Fitzgerald Kennedy was killed in
The money
Cuba.
game.
Yeah, John
superpowers.
Fitz.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Banerjee, I'm gonna interrupt you there.
Yeah.
The countries who can really play good role in diplomacy don't want the diplomacy to continue because they're profiting out of this war, and Ukrainians are suffering.
Yeah. So this war will automatically come to an end without being a nuclear war once all the old weapons are dumped and new weapons have already been in the start of making. S-500 after S-400, S-600, it will continue, right? So that's the crux
Well, there
of the
has to
system.
be. I understand. Dr. Tazimonov said that they have real reasons to join.
I'm
NATO.
terribly sorry. I have a question. By dumping the weapon, you mean giving a country the right to protect its citizens?
No. We're not talking about.
Stop.
No, we are not supporting Russia.
Sorry. So
we are not supporting Russia. Sorry. We are not supporting.
What about murdering? What about bombing? You call that dropping the weapons instead of giving the people
we
the
are
right
1000%
their lives, their choice?
Yes.
1 second.
Yes.
I'm going to ask Mr.
I
Tazimonov.
agree to you.
Well, I'm sorry. Why are we discussing that in such case? If you are treating that way,
Okay, can we ask this question rather? Okay, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Tazimonov.
Oh my God! Because the problem is that you haven't met a single person who escaped Ukraine. You haven't looked into the eyes of a woman who has been raped by a Russian soldier.
Can I ask you this?
You haven't seen the eyes of a child who lost his father. That's why you're treating like that, dumping the weapon. If you had seen,
I understand.
you
Listen
would
to
have
this.
said differently.
Okay, Tazimonov, listen to this. I understand your justifications for Ukraine.
I'm not justifying. I'm saying
NATO.
you
You're talking about NATO.
should have done that.
No, listen. You're saying that there is a justification since 2014 for Ukraine to join NATO. I understand that.
Certainly,
but
yes.
what is? Let's put it the other way. What is American interest in giving millions of dollars to Ukraine? What is the ultimate interest?
Why are you looking for interest?
Because this is always
what is wrong with
catch? It's always a catch.
See, we are all for the Ukrainian clause.
Listen,
we are all for the Ukrainian clause.
If Ukraine wanted to be in bed with Russia, they would have given up, as the Russians wanted 3 days, and were in Kiev. It didn't happen because the Ukrainians didn't want that. They didn't want to go in bed with Russia.
Okay.
Understood.
Can I say something?
Let's go to Mr. Jamal Hassan. Mr. Jamal Hassan, coming to all this, I mean, there has to be some sort of ultimate interest for Americans.
No, please, don't always read between the lines. No,
why not?
No.
There's always interest.
Okay, even if it's ultimate interest, it's on the false premises. I'm saying, because in the long run, it's not going to help. You have to understand. Billions of dollars are going away. America is not in perfect society now. We have lots of problems. We need a lot of money in education sector, in law enforcement, and you know that our country is divided. Recent police brutality you have seen. So actually, this money. Oh, you are saying interest? Our national interest? I think it is not helping our national interest in the long run. I'm saying we need diplomacy. And I agree with Mr. Tazimonov,
yes,
100%. Ukraine should have joined NATO a long time ago. The Russian bear would not spread its claws. If Ukraine would be part of NATO, it would not happen. The war would not happen. Now you are going back to the national interest of USA. USA, I can tell you, it's just in the short term, it may have, but in the long term, if the war drags on, it will not help US long-term interest. I can say in the long term. You agree with that? And I also agree that the present way that this is going on, the Putin. Basically, we are also pushed to the wall.
Jamal, sorry to interrupt you.
We're also pushed to the wall.
we're coming to an end. We are coming to the end.
Sweden and Finland, if they join NATO, I think go for it. Sweden and Finland, because Finland, I used to use the word Finlandize, because Finland was always nice to the sleeping bear next to its border. Finland was always nice to Soviet Union, always nice to Russia.
Amitav Ghosh is there now. He's in
Okay.
Finland now.
Okay, Mr. Yeah, I mean,
I want to. Hand. Go ahead. Last word.
I want to give my mic to Mr. Banerjee, Rajeshri Banerjee. You wanted to interrupt. You wanted to say something, Mr. Banerjee.
Sir, with all due respect to you and all other fellow members, I'm saying that US has been selfish from the very beginning.
For being with us, Mr. Timur, he's taking our leave. Mr. Timur, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you very much.
I'm really sorry, but I have to.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much. Pleasure having you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yes, go on. Sorry, Mr. Banerjee.
Yeah, the point is, Jamal sir, US has always been selfish, right? It has not seen beyond its own interests, right? Right. Mr. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was not killed by one Mr. Oscar, right? He was shot from 5 different angles by arms makers, right? Why? Because Mr. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, when he came to power, he declared that we will stop dumping our weapons in Cuba. So when an economy stands at a threshold, the only way to make money is making weapons, right? And reselling it, right? So US has always been selfish, right? So let's not consider US in this world politics. And the second most important part is, consider the time of COVID, 2020, right? US was passing on some comment on China. China was passing on some comment on US, right? And the whole world was focusing on a virtual battle between the US and China. Somewhere Russia thought that, am I not being considered as a world power? Am I not being considered as a world power? Right? So all these conditions and all this here, this is the final impetus to the Russian people, or Mr. Vladimir Putin, who was a part of KGB, who has only got the mind of a KGB, not a politician, to invoke a war against Ukraine. Actually, there is no reason to invoke a war on Ukraine. All the uranium that Ukraine had, Russia had already drained off, almost 90% of it, right? There's nothing much left out there. So this is what actually is. Russia had to prove that they are still the leading power. We never thought about it from this angle.
Well, Germany, Navy chief of Germany did. He said Russia needs to be respected.
Yeah.
And he had to pay the price of losing his job. Now, Amitav Ghosh, last word. We have only 4 minutes left in the program. 4 minutes left. Amitav Ghosh, quickly, please.
Russia, Germany is going to give the technology of Leopard 2 tank. Okay. India is keeping an eye on the Leopard 2 tank. If it is successful, so India is going to give the order to Germany. So what Rajeshri sir, whatever he told is very much correct. See that India is buying of S-400. Here, the Turkey was the main broker. From the NATO part, they got the F-16, and they are the closest to the Russia. They have this S-400. What Turkey did? They attack F-16 through S-400, and F-16 destroyed. India had an eye on that program. So India understood Pakistan have F-16, so we should have S-400. So India has given order for 200 number of such S-400. So Mr. Rajesh is very much correct.
Right. Okay. No. We'll have a next week program on the imminence of a war between Afghanistan and Pakistan, because I think that this matter needs to be addressed, because I believe that preparations are going on to allow or to push Pakistan to invade Afghanistan, because that's my
100%. Love you.
Well, words I'll take from Mr. Yuri Tarzimanov. He will have the last words, and then we'll end the program. Yeah.
Mufassil bhai, I have something to say.
Okay, I'll come to you. Let's.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Go ahead. After you.
Okay, Mr. Amaruddin. He has
Okay.
given.
All I'm saying is war is a business, right? Now,
Absolutely.
war is a business, and my understanding is there is no permanent solution between the conflict the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, it seems to me there is no diplomatic effort to stop this war. Now they want to keep this war going on, and it's going to be like the conflict between Palestine and Israel, ongoing problem. I tell you what, you've been discussing about the nuclear threat, nuclear war. Nothing is going to happen.
Nothing.
It won't take place. It's a business. It will go on and on and on, and somehow they want to keep this alive. Yeah.
Right.
And Fasil, by one thing, last point, I'm going to finish because I got the chance. I listened to the Hillary Clinton's interview. In her interview, he said in American accent, Iraq economy is going faster than China, faster than China, and also she said he put with her hand on her chest. She said, I am responsible for the attack on Iraq, and also this criminal, she is the most evil and criminal person in the history. And also, you know what she said? She said Iraq's economy is going faster than China. And
Faster. How was it by fast?
Thank you for a comment. We are almost out of time.
2 seconds, Two seconds, please. She also said in her interview, not she, Junior Bush said, Iraq is controlling our economy. We don't want our worst enemy, Saddam Hussein, to control our economy. You know how Iraq was controlling their economy? How? Because Iraq was the 4th largest oil supplier to America. They want to steal Iraq's oil as Ghanimat Kamal. You people criticize Islam, Prophet Muhammad. Yeah, they are more dangerous than Prophet Muhammad. All of them are trying to listen. All of them are trying to get the Ghanimat Kamal.
So you're saying that it's all money game in Ukraine. They don't really care for Ukrainian people. Mr. Tarzimanov, you heard all that? That it is not.
Yes, I've heard that, and
all Ukrainian wealth, Ukrainian treasure.
Let me tell you. In conclusion, because I've heard several predictions, what is going to happen, how it's going to happen. It's going to be a long conflict, etc., etc., etc. But we know nothing literally. Because we know nothing. We've just been informed this morning that a miracle events had happened in Iran last night. That the plant that is producing drones that are being sent from Russia to Ukraine and the oil refinery and several other targets of the Ministry of Defense of Iran under threat. We know nothing what's going to happen. So let's not predict whether it's going to happen or not. It's going to be a long conflict or short. Well, let's pray it's going to be over
We want a quick solution of this. We want diplomatic solution of this
There's
war.
only one solution. Russia goes back home.
End of the day, Ukrainian people are suffering. That's the fact.
Yeah.
And many Russian soldiers are also dying. End of the day.
Well, let me tell you something. I know there were you said 4 minutes. These are not Russian soldiers. These are killers. You can call them soldiers, but as soon as they cross the border in Ukraine, they're murderers. Please
All right.
don't call.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you
and they
for,
all need to be shot as quick as possible. Don't call them soldiers. Soldiers are those who protect their land,
right.
not
Thank
invade.
you very much. Thank you very much,
Correct.
honorable guests who made time to join our program.
Thank
Our-
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tazimano.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Our next
Thank you.
program will be on Pakistan's possible invasion of Afghanistan. Thank you very much.